You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't going to be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome to Midweek. You made it. It's Wednesday. We got a lot to discuss here today on the podcast. I want to go over a couple things. I told you on the Monday podcast that I was going to talk to you a little bit about Fani Willis, where the court date said. Hopefully we'll find out. I hadn't found any new information here, but we'll get some where we're standing and then how it's going to play out possibly this week. Also, we're going to discuss some Supreme Court cases from this week. Some decisions have been handed down. And then just the discussion of the border, again, is just an overwhelming problem. So right after the break, we're going to jump into those issues right here on the Doug Collins podcast. We're glad to have you with us. Hey, folks, when you look out and you see the country and just the disarray it is, you see the Biden administration, you see the wholesale prices have just went through the roof again. Inflation is tearing us up. If you have your finances all impinged in just a few areas, if you're just in stocks and bonds and you're not diversified, I got some news for you. You need a navigator. You need somebody to help you get to where you need to go with those finances. And I can't think of anybody better to do that than my friends at Legacy Precious Metals. You need precious metals in that portfolio. You need gold and silver. And Legacy Precious Metals, the folks there, they're the navigators. They know how to deal with tough times. They know and how to look ahead and take your personal situation and make it something that can be workable for you in the long term, because that's at the end of the day, that's the one you're most concerned about. You need to make sure that your personal finances and your retirement are secure. You need folks like Legacy Precious Metals helping you in that. They will take the time to learn you. They'll learn your finances. They'll learn where your investment goals are, and they'll help you get there. And metals and gold right now, in this kind of crazy inflation, in this kind of crazy economy with the Biden's economy, is just, you need that help. And Legacy Precious Metals is the one to do that. So give Legacy Precious Metals a call, 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can always visit them online at legacypminvestments.com, and you can download their free investor's guide. Legacy Precious Metals, they're the ones you need. They're the navigators to help you through these turbulent times. Hey everybody, Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank all of my listeners, the Great Doug Collins podcast listeners, for your continued support. To thank you, they're offering an overstocked clearance sale right now for the best price you ever use when you use the promo code Collins, COLLINS, and you get free shipping on the entire order. You get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0, the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived and won't last long. Get six-pack towel sets for only $29.98. And take advantage of the free shipping on large items like mattresses and mattress toppers. 100% made here in the United States and on sale for as low as $99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and much, much more. To get the best specials ever, go to the mypillow.com, and use the promo code Collins, COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 and use the same keyword Collins, COLLINS, and get free shipping on your entire order while supplies last. MyPillow products, thank you. Y'all go check them out. Okay, let's start off with the border and how it is amazing to me in this season that the Democratic Party is just basically determined to not deal with the border. They're just not. They're not gonna touch it. They're just gonna basically pander around it. You remember on the podcast, I was one who was saying that Biden, I thought, would do something before the election, before the State of the Union. He did nothing. He went down there, didn't do a whole lot, didn't say anything. Then you had the Lake and Riley issue here in Georgia, and again, nothing. You've had the Haitian now issue of coming into the country, and the just complete breakdown in the country of Haiti with all of their problems. Now we're seeing Florida is seeing more and more of this coming through either by ship, which we can handle a lot easier out on the open water, or they're coming through Mexico and coming up into the country. And I mean, you've had jails opened up down there. You've had people coming everywhere. These are not good times for the people of Haiti, and we pray that they will find peace down there in these gangs that have taken over. But it's spilling over to much more than just Haiti. We're seeing this spill out into other places and other areas and coming into the United States. So it's something for us to watch out. But again, I don't get the lack of attention to the border. But now we're getting an even further discussion about this, in that the Pentagon is basically reporting over 1,000 drone flights over the border. Now, a lot can be done or said about these, done, is probably not the right word, because we see it happening all the time without some motivated action by this White House or the Department of Homeland Security. But the question is what is this leading up to? These drones are coming over our border. They're basically mapping out paths, and they're seeing from a security issue, where the Border Patrol agents are, where they're not. This is becoming more and more sophisticated organization. Brandon Judd, head of the Border Patrol Union, and others, point this out all the time, that right now the cartels control the border. They control it they have overwhelmed the Mexican side of the border and government. Mexico's no longer really actively trying to help as they were under Donald Trump. This is why I see this becoming such an issue as we sort of roll into November. And I think one of the issues that the last month will be dominated with, and really the heartless response of the Biden administration to what has happened in the border. And you're also seeing it, frankly, in the bigger cities, where now they're having to deal with it, where at one point they didn't have to deal with it in the way, because you have the southern governors, the border state governors, sending immigrants to the cities and saying, look, we don't have enough, we can't deal with this, you're going to have to deal with it. And it's causing these cities to now, liberal cities who claim to be sanctuary cities, and we're so about the immigrant, and God forbid they call them illegal immigrants, is what they are, illegal migrants, but they call them undocumented workers, and you see the political correctness in this all over the place. But now they're saying, well, look, we don't have enough money for our own kids in schools. We don't have money for our police system. You see what's happening in New York City, where Kathy Hochul actually sent the National Guard into the subways, and we still saw a shooting on the subways just the other day. So it's getting bad. You're seeing it over in the AOC's district, in which they're selling wares on the side of the road like you would see in a third world country. So they're actually seeing it. That's why Democrats, I think, privately behind the scenes, realize that the blame Republican strategy here is not working, especially when they had the House and the Senate and the presidency for 2 years, and then trying to blame it all on the Republicans in the third year is just not working. And it's going to be an issue coming forward. But if you have drones crossing your border, and at what point do we not consider this an attack on the sovereignty of this nation? Not in the sense that, we have one of the most generous legal immigration programs in the country. We put almost 1 million people into our citizenship rolls every year through the legal process. Okay. No other country in the world admits that many people and makes them citizens. Okay. There's only a few countries in the world that actually have the process of what we call birthright citizenship, in which you're born here, you become a citizen. That's why a lot of pregnant folks come across the border, because they know the minute that they can get here, that child will be an American citizen. It is a rarity. Don't talk to me about the high intellectual states in Europe and everywhere else. They don't have this. You're not just a German citizen because you're born there, or a Swedish citizen, or a French citizen, or a British citizen. You're not. I wish that the press would just report it straight up. Just say, hey, look, this is what's coming across the border. Here's the issues that we have in America. Here's the immigration policies that have worked. Here's the immigration policies that hadn't worked. And let the American people understand that the lax immigration policies of the Biden administration have caused the serious security breach of this country. And don't also, the Biden administration, please quit talking about, like the vice president said just the other day, that and AOC has said, and several others have said, that, we need to redo our immigration laws and focus on pathways to citizenship and other things. The minute the cartels hear AOC saying we just need to do pathways to citizenship, it's like the money machine comes on with them, because the cartel's controlling the border. The cartels are saying, now I've got an easy way to convince people to go across the border. Hey, they're going to implement some kind of a pathway to citizenship. And if you don't get there soon enough, you'll get left out. People are going to crowd the borders even more if that's the way it's left out there. And again, we don't see that much about it. I wanted to bring it up here just as a reminder that I think at the end of the day, the issues not of the grand themes of Joe Biden and the threat to democracy that Donald Trump is, and the grand vision of a world in which government is making everybody's lives better, is not a specific theme that is winnable in November, especially when you have people who are still suffering from 20% inflation. They're still suffering from higher, young people are at their lowest rate in 40 years of affordability for their first house. You have credit card debt, unpayment is up at 39%. There's just so many things out there that is really struggling in this economy. And then you see immigration issues like this, and you see where we're giving illegal immigrants money, we're giving them benefits, and you're not even seeing that with some of the American citizens who are here that are not getting those kind of benefits. So just keep that in mind as we move forward here. Next issue, again, part of that attack on Donald Trump, they don't want to deal with the issues of their records or what Joe Biden's done, so they resort to lawfare. In other words, going after him. And we've seen this over and over and over again. New York, this absolutely bogus case in which they now have a $400+ million verdict on, which is unheard of. It's unprecedented, especially if you have to get a bond to then appeal it, on issues that Donald Trump inflated his worth numbers. I'm not going to go back over this in depth, but this is what you see when you have district attorneys or attorneys generals, in this case, Letitia James in New York, wanting to do one thing, go after a certain person without dealing with the real problems in their job. Then you've got Jack Smith, you've got Fani Willis down here in Georgia. The Fani Willis, the Georgia case, which I had even said on this podcast, had been the quietest of the cases. It was the one that was just moving along, no real drama about the case. After the mugshots were taken, you even had 3 or 4, I can't remember which, either 3 or 4 actually went ahead and pled out of that case. And it was just marching along until all of a sudden, Fani Willis decides that she is going to exercise her power as DA. And this is important to remember, because I'm not sure why else you would have thought privileged enough to do this. Fani Willis tried to interject into Nathan Wade's divorce case and have the proceedings sealed, and that her involvement basically to be left out, and said that the ex-wife was only doing this to damage her criminal case and acting in a criminal manner. Now, this is key. When you have a district attorney who uses the position she's in, and again, if it was just Fani Willis, the private citizen, might be a different story. But when she's Fani Willis, DA of Fulton County, going into Cobb County, a neighboring county, and says, look, what you're doing is illegal, and I will, basically I'm implying that you continue at this, then I will use the legal system to enforce my desire that these not become public, and that you quit trying to subpoena me or get me to testify. That's where you draw the line of the public gain. Now, the case came out last week. McAfee actually said Fani could stay if Nathan Wade left, or they could all just get out of it. Nathan Wade chose to leave. Fani Willis is staying, at least for the moment. But basically, it has been a disastrous 2 or 3 months for Fani Willis. She talks about keeping money in her home. She talks about spending money, paying back expenses with all cash, really never shows where the cash came from. I am now in agreement with what's happening in the Georgia Senate with the subpoenas and the issues that are going forward investigating Fani Willis. It would be interesting to me if the Attorney General of the state of Georgia, Chris Carr, actually would find a way or look into a way to start looking into this, because just her own verbal testimony gave rise to questions such as she took the money from her campaign account after it closed. not disclosing trips, not disclosing gifts. Even McAfee in his own decision says, I can't tell you if there was a benefit or not, because he was not in a position of investigating this. He was having to take the conflicting testimonies of several people and then come up with what he hoped, what I think was a splitting of the baby, so to speak, from a Solomonic time, but made nobody happy, and the child died. And I think that's the part that's coming across here with Fani Willis. The arrogance that, he wrote in there, the odor of mendacity, basically the odor of untruthfulness, the odor of a lie. I mean, think about this. This is the second time Fani Willis has been slapped down or popped at, however you want to use the term, in a judicial decision about her handling of this case. The first one dealt with Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and the fact that she was politically active in trying to defeat Burt Jones, holding a fundraiser for Burt's opponent while investigating. Now, again, conflict of interest abound here. The judge said, look, this doesn't look good. This is wrong. How could you have done this? In fact, said you can't prosecute Burt Jones. And so that case has been over at the Prosecuting Attorney's Council, Mr. Skandalakis over there, and they've not been able to find a DA to take it or a private lawyer to take that case. So right now, that part is on hold. Burt Jones is continuing as lieutenant governor, and Fani Willis, for all of her wisdom as a DA, got her taken off the case on that one. Now, you have the second one, in this one, Judge McAfee actually said the same thing. He all but said there's lying going on here. And when you look at the lying going on here, it's between three lawyers in particular. You have a friend of Fani Willis who said that it happened, the affair was going strong before she ever appointed him as special prosecutor. Fani Willis denies that. Nathan Wade denies that. Of course, why would they not deny it? There's a lot to be gained there from them not admitting it. But this is the problem. And in Fani Willis's own testimony, she said that one person testimony can prove truth. Well, what about her roommate? What about her lifelong friend who says this happened earlier? Is her ability to testify to truth that she actually witnessed and saw not truth? Was Fani basically calling, as she did to the attorneys that day, that her former best friend is a liar? I think Judge McAfee saw it differently. If you read their opinion, Judge McAfee said, one of you are lying. Either the former law partner of Nathan Wade, or Fani Willis, or you're all lying. I just can't prove it, and I can't show where you didn't get a gain, and I'm not sure how to bring this into an issue because of actual wrongdoing as opposed to the appearance of wrongdoing. In many ways, to me, this looked like an opinion written for an appellate court. In other words, to be appealed. And folks from Jonathan Turley, Alan Dershowitz on down, have said that this is something that is not good for Fani Willis, is not good as they go forward probably in appeals here. Nathan Wade's already resigned. Fani Willis has accepted that resignation. So now it's going to be a matter of, will the judge allow a certificate for immediate review of the case or interlocutory to get this to the appellate court while the rest of this case is stayed? Either way, this is months away from happening in the Fulton County courtroom. But it just feeds this narrative that this is lawfare, using the law to go after one person. And it is the reason that Trump's numbers are not affected by it, why him and Joe Biden are still neck and neck. There's just so many things here that you can point to that people are just tired of saying, if they can do this to him, how much more could they do to me? And I think that's the case that has been coming forward as we go. So that's the latest on the Fani case. We'll see how that goes. It's still amazing to me that you had 3 or 4 actually pled out on this case. What are they thinking right now? A long way to go, especially when you get into jury selection. If there is a trial, I mean, how many people have not heard about not only what they talked about Trump for ages, but what Fani Willis and the 20,000 text messages and everything else had just put a pall on this case. That odor of mendacity is, as McAfee talked about. But the problem was he didn't use anything to get rid of the odor. In fact, if anything, he made it worse. Last point I want to point out today is there's 2 cases really before the Supreme Court that I want to focus on dealing in social media. The first one, and you may not have seen this, but be careful. These are rights, and interesting that the court is now diving into in areas that we've not seen them dive into before. And this one is, can a government official be sued under the First Amendment for blocking critics on social media? Now, there's two cases, two from California and Michigan, in which the district courts disagree. Basically, the Ninth District Court, the California, said that they could block cases, and the Michigan said that they could not. The court, in a unanimous decision on both cases, said that there's a new standard for determining if a public official has acted in a governmental capacity when blocking critics on social media, a test to be applied in the lawsuits accusing them of violating the First Amendment. The First Amendment protections for free speech generally constrain government actors, not private individuals. Under this test that the courts are sending back to the lower courts to decide, the officials are considered to have been engaged in governmental action if they had actual authority to speak on behalf of the state on a particular matter and purported to exercise that authority in the relevant post. This is going to be an interesting wording here. If this is the test, I mean, can you see the problem in that test? I mean, if you're not, don't worry. I'm a lawyer, and I had to sit there and look at it. Let's see what they're saying is, and I'm wondering if this is how tightly they're going to frame this. This will, of course, be appealed again. Actual authority to speak on behalf of the state on a particular matter. So the question is does in this case you had two sitting councilmen, or you had two city councilmen, and one was a city manager. That when in the California case, it was two public school board trustees in the city of Poway, and then in Port Huron, Michigan, you had a resident appealed after lower court had took it out on dealing with one of the city clerks. The interesting part here is how far the city manager Freed in the Michigan case blocked Mr. Linke from his public Facebook page. That's important. That's the government Facebook page, following critical posts concerning the COVID-19 pandemic. Freed account was also a public Facebook page identifying him as a public figure. In other words, he had the color of the government with him. The federal judge ruled in favor of Freed in the 6th District Court, and as opposed to in the 9th District, where the California case involved a Michelle O'Connor Ratcliffe and T.J. Zane, elected trustees of the Poway School Board, that blocked Christopher and Kimberly Garner, the parents of 3 students at the district schools, after the couple made hundreds of critical posts on issues including race and school finances. Zane and O'Connor Ratcliffe had public Facebook pages identifying them as government officials. The parents sued in 2017. Federal court ruled that the parents' First Amendment rights were violated, and the San Francisco based 9th District Court upheld it. So you have what happens here. This is how you get to the Supreme Court. Number one, you need to get the quickest way is to have an issue big enough that you have 2 district courts arguing over which one is right. So the Supreme Court is going to have to deal in this case, and this is important in a first step of looking at the use of social media accounts by government officials. And so if you look at the discussion here, this test that they put forward is said that the test is, do they have the actual authority to speak on behalf of the state on a particular matter? Well, these 2 elected officials definitely have the power of the state, of the government, to speak on matters of education. Now, is that going to be enough to say that they can't block others from being critical? And this is the key, because there's no or here or bit. This is, they have to have actual authority to speak on behalf of the state in a particular matter and purported to exercise that authority in the relevant post. So the question is, does blocking, and this is what the lower court is going to have to say, is blocking the post a reflection of a government action keeping them from a public posting board? The way they frame this is going to be tough. I'll be honest with you, because they got to show both that the action was relevant. It was the authority was relevant to the ability that the elected officials had to block a specific issue in which they were under their control. Now, anything taking with the school board, that would seem to be answer the first part. Yes, they have the ability to speak on those issues. The second part was the purported to exercise that authority in the relevant post. Was it because they could speak into the issues of education that they felt now that they can't ban them, or if they felt like they could ban them? This is what the lower court's going to have to decide. Another big case that is in the Supreme Court earlier this week was a Missouri case in which the Missouri and Louisiana sued over the issue of government, the Biden administration in particular, trying to force with persuasion the big social media giants, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the others, to take down viewpoints that they did not find acceptable. Now, to many of you out there, you're just sitting back and you're saying, wait, that's a clear violation of the First Amendment. Well, I think that's where it's going to be interesting, is to say, in the government frame, the case is, what is persuasion and what is coercion? And this one is going to be an interesting for the justice to have to figure out. Persuasion is, I'm persuading you to come around to my way of thinking. Coercion says, you're going to come around to my way of thinking, or there's going to be punishment attached. In this case, and in the discovery that was done, you have emails sent from the White House to social media organizations asking that things be taken down. There's no way they can deny that they're not acting in a governmental capacity. The question will be, is that considered just persuasion, like any of us could have the ability to do? Or was this in a sense of coercion, in which they were using the force of that White House email address to say, this is the president speaking, we need you to do this? And that's going to be fascinating. Now, in the oral arguments, it seemed to be mixed. In fact, if anything, it did not seem as positive toward those who brought the suit in this case. But now we'll just see. I mean, this is getting more and more important, folks. If you don't believe the social media aspect of this world is one of the problems that we're dealing with, then I don't really know how to help you. And if government can take over and control social media even more than social media sort of protects itself, then we've got a lot bigger problem than anything we can think of right now. Because if the minute that the internet and the minute that this work is put under the microscope and they find that they're censoring conservative voices, conservative attitudes, conservative videos, then that is government action and a clear violation of the First Amendment. So it's going to be interesting to see if I'm from the military. A suggestion is an order. If my superior said, why don't you why don't you go get that report, or something to the effect of, I really would like to have that report. Well, the question is that an order or is that a suggestion? In the military, it'll be more considered, hey, go do this for me. Many occasions. But in government, if you're one of these organizations who's fought with, administrations, who fought with others, and you get an email from a White House address about a situation in your system and about a post in particular, how does that weigh out? Supreme Court has got a lot left to do. This one won't be decided until the end of June. The other one has been decided that I spoke of earlier about blocking has been decided already and sent back to the lower courts for decision. But I encourage you, we're going to do a little bit more of this as time goes on. I'm going to break down some more of these legal cases as we move toward June and the ending of the Supreme Court session and term. Be some interesting votes there. I want you to be all caught up in that as we go forward. But for now, that'll going to be it. We've got lots still going on, so just stick with us here on the podcast. Got Friday's Finest coming up on Friday. Love to have you. Tell your friends, share the podcast. We'll see you again soon.